sometimes numbering up to 2,000, and then in parts of Botswana and places like that, you can also get massive herds. I mean, herds that size are rare, though. You know, at the end of the day, to feed a herd of 1,000 and supply water for them is not easy. So you generally find those really massive herds need to be in areas where there is a lot of water and a lot of food for them to sustain themselves, and they tend to move quite a bit. Herds of this size is far more common, so anywhere between 50 to 300. Those are sort of common-sized herds that we would generally see in the Sabi Sands. But it is the best thing when you get herds of buffalo. I love herds of buffalo. When you get a vehicle and you go and you sit in amongst them and you have them all moving around, a lot of people see them almost quite boring as sort of cow-like, but I just like sitting amongst them and hearing them grunt and groan, and there's an element to them that you just, I don't know, for me, I just don't quite trust them, and there's a bit of kind of living on the edge factor when you're in amongst a big buffalo herd like this. So always a pleasure when we get to see them. It is a wonderful way to spend a morning. Now, Mary, you say you counted over 150 of them. That's probably very true, Mary, because from where I'm sitting, all I can see is a window down onto the dam, so I can't see how many of them have shifted through the drainage line on top on the right-hand side that are going towards Central, so it could very well be well over 150, but I'm glad that you have counted them and you let us know, so thank you for that. It's always nice to know, and that's a very good-sized herd. 150 is a lot of animals, and there will definitely be bulls that will be left over from this. And so we will see buffalo a lot more in Djuma now, I hope, and this might be a signal that there are a lot more herds coming, and the fact that they know that there's going to be grazing in these areas could signify a return of herds moving southwards from the Manyeleti, westwards from the Kruger, and even northwards from the Sabi and Sand rivers back into these areas. It's interesting because we got a sort of report a few days ago about the grass coverage within the Sabi Sands, and it seems as though the southern parts along the Sabi River have been far more abused over this winter than what these northern parts are, and so the grazing capabilities in this northern section seems to be a lot better than that in the south, and that will eventually attract things like buffalo up to this northern space. Because it has been so underutilized over the last year, it'll mean that there's a lot of grazing here for things like buffalo, and so we should see a lot more of them returning. But what is typical of this is you can see as this buffalo herd is now starting to move away, what's left behind normally is you're going to find a couple bulls that will be on the fringes and in the back side of the herd, and then all along the edges is going to be bull buffalo, and in the middle is where the females and the young ones are going to get packed in. And the reason why they do that is because then if anything comes to attack them, these bull buffalo, which are the big ones, they've got the big horns, they're much more physical, they will be able to try and defend this herd, and they'll form this kind of line, and the bulls will come rushing forward and try and push off any potential threat that there could be. So it's amazing to watch these herds move around and how they actually structure themselves. It looks almost like organized chaos with all these buffalo moving around, but actually there's kind of a little bit of a pattern to it, and it's really cool to see. So what I think we're going to do is at the moment can't really move too much from where we are until these last ones start moving off the dam wall. Once they start going up and towards Gari Cutline, we can then cut across and pop out onto the cut line and watch them then kind of move over the road. The problem is that I see a lot of them are starting to face northwards now, and it looks like they might go back up towards Buffelshoek, which is where they've probably come from in the end of the day. If they've come down from sort of Mvubu side, I surmise that they've come from Buffelshoek, and they're going to start heading back in that direction, which is not ideal. I'm hoping with this cloudy weather, though, that they bed down and just lie down. They often do that. Buffalo will feed normally in sort of morning and evening time, and then during the day they often find a place just to rest and ruminate. The thing is, it's not that hot, so it's not going to drive them into a shady section to lie down. You'll find that these guys will be able to move and feed for a much longer period through the day. But how exciting is that to see buffalo on the property again? And like I said, we've had a crazy morning. We've had a leopard close by, we've had lion tracks, we've had elephants calling not too far away, we've got a big herd of buffalo. So it seems as though it's all happening this morning, and hopefully we'll continue to find interesting things as we go about our walk. But while we do that, let's go back across to Jamie all the way in the Masai Mara, and I'm not sure what she's got. I did misheard cursed, but I'm sure it will be interesting nonetheless.
I'm very excited to hear that the buffalo have returned to Djuma, but quickly before they stop doing it, the Coke's Hartebeest are having the best morning, doing what's known as stotting and giving this amazing demonstration of their strength and speed. We always talk about the topi being the fastest antelope here, but in fact, Hartebeest are not far behind. And this, to them, is just a casual game. Look at that bounce, 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 bounce. Yay! This is the best game ever, and we're going back again. And bounce, 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 bounce. If I could do that, I'd do that all day. It's known as stotting, and it's a demonstration of the antelope's strength and essentially stamina. And it's a way of the antelope, and it's two males, by the way, that are racing around each other like this, as far as I can tell. It might be a male chasing a female, but I think it's one young male and one older male. And it's essentially the antelope's way of either saying to a rival, "Don't try and fight me, I am so strong," or else saying to a predator, "Don't bother even trying to chase me, look how fit and healthy I am." So it's a type of movement known as stotting, and it's basically an exaggerated movement. So you'll see that Impala do it. They do their handstands, which is quite phenomenal to witness. They look like they're about to break their backs. Hartebeest bounce like that, so do Topi. And then, of course, you get the very special type of stotting from the South African springbuck, or springbuck in general. Oh, now we're going to do what's known as rubbing one's head in the dirt. So again, all antelope do this. Oh, pronking, by the way. That's what I was talking about with springbuck. So all antelope do this as well. Similar idea to stotting where a rival is concerned. The idea is to coat one's horns in a large amount of mud and essentially make oneself look bigger and scarier. It's the antelope equivalent of war paint. Here we go. Is this guy going to do it as well? Yeah. Give themselves a good coating. I think there's a little bit of water there as well. So they're drinking and covering their horns in mud. So probably a bachelor group. Okay, so Becca, you're wanting to know about the largest and the smallest antelope in the Mara. So these guys are kind of medium-sized, medium to large, if one could phrase it like that. Elegant. It's not a bachelor herd at all. It's a breeding herd. So the largest antelope that we get out here, and in fact in Africa, is the eland. So the eland is the largest antelope, and hopefully we'll be able to show you a herd of eland before the morning is out, or at least an eland bull, which is almost the size of a buffalo in terms of weight and taller than a buffalo. There's a habituated one that lives at Tulloch Gate, and every now and again we walk right past him and he stands in the shade, blocking up the gate. And then the smallest, I think the smallest would probably be a duk-duk, if I'm not mistaken. You do get duiker here, but they're the largest species of duiker. So the smallest antelope in the world is called a blue duiker, but that's found more in coastal and montane forests, whereas the duk-duk is pretty much, I think the duk-duk would be the smallest one here. We get steenbok, we get duiker, we get the sort of the tiny species of antelope, but a little duk-duk is about yay big. Now, I'm pretty sure that if you're asking about the smallest antelope here, there's a good chance you've never heard Scott's story about a duk-duk. Please, when Scott gets back from leave, ask him to tell the duk-duk story. I'm not going to tell it because I can't do it nearly as well as he can. But ask Scott to tell you the duk-duk story, because it's hilarious. Shame. Such a sweet, sweet story. Scott rescued a small antelope. I've managed to, sorry, give me 1 second, I've just managed to tangle my earpiece in the door. Okay, Cokes, you seem to have calmed down. That is a Coke's Hartebeest, also known here as a Congoni, K-O-N-G-O-N-I, Congoni, which interestingly enough sort of ties into one of those little linguistic distinctions, because and I think it's Xitsonga, so essentially what we refer to as the Shangaan language, but Xitsonga, I think it's Xitsonga, Konkoni means wildebeest. So Congoni, Hartebeest, Konkoni in South Africa, wildebeest. Little connections. Mafuta, fuel, in both places. Mati Maji, water Marti in South Africa, Maji in Kenya. Lots of little similarities that creep through. We're nearly there, everybody. We're on the Kikarok Road. The Kikarok Killer. So we're passing Kikarok. Now all we've got to do is go around to Black Rock. It shouldn't take us much more than about 15 minutes. There's an in-joke, and this is as much for Kirsty as it is for you. There's an in-joke at camp at the moment. In order to avoid mud, when we built the camp, we had gravel delivered, but what we got were chunks of massive rock that all of us have at one point or another gone over on our ankle on. And because this road is so bad, and because those rocks are so bad, they've become known as the Kikaroks around our camp. Kirsty, do I still have your comms? Maybe not. Ha ha ha. Kirsty's laughing outrageously at my joke. It wasn't me. But the Kikaroks are all around camp. Okay, to get to Black Rock, I have to go through a dip. That means I'm going to vanish. So what I'll do is send you over to Rolf in South Africa, who is exploring the mysteries of the Northern Sabi Sands.
Welcome back, folks, and we are heading straight towards where we've heard that there is leopard being found, and so we're hot-footing it on our way there just to try and see if we can squeeze our way in with the other game viewers and see if we can find this animal that they've spotted. So I hear that there's been... Ooh, hello. There is a lovely little bird that I've spotted along the way. If Sebastian can just get in closely on it, it is a beauty. It is a migratory bird, and this is a violet-backed starling. It's got a beautiful little call, and unfortunately you can't see. If there was light on it now, you would see the beautifully purple violet back with a lovely contrasting white belly. Get these right up into the desert as well. That was a nice little spot. I hear that there's been all sorts going on this morning. Tristan out on foot with those big buffalo. Seems they've re-entered back into the reserve. I did come across the tracks just before, and I tried to warn Tristan on foot that the buffalo had returned into the area, and the retort was, well, we found them, so what you worried about? So anyway, let's continue on where I wanted to take you towards where we've got this feline kitty that we were looking for from the start. So I did hear a little bit earlier that where they're coming from, where they are at the moment. It stopped raining for us. It was raining yesterday a little bit, and this morning actually when I got up at 3:30 and I looked outside, it was actually a clear sky. All the stars were out, and I thought it's going to be another scorcher. Literally within half an hour it had closed up again. So I don't know how long it had been open for, because yesterday it was pretty much like this the entire day with drizzle coming through, and then somewhere along the line during the evening it opened up, and within half an hour, as I say, it closed right back up again. So we're overcast, we're cool, but it's not raining, it's not hot, it's not extremely cold, just sitting in that sort of 65 degrees Fahrenheit, 19, 20, 22 degrees centigrade. So it's quite comfortable, but when we're driving we get this very cool fresh air. That's why Sebastian and I are jacketed it up. Anyway, so we're heading out towards where this kitty was spotted. Okay, I hear that everybody is excited to see a leopard. Well, so am I. And I'm not quite sure which individual this is. I haven't heard which one it is, so we'll have to wait and see. All I know is that we've got a spotted cat. So that's what we're going to continue to do. We'll head out in the way that we were going to see where everybody else has found her. But along the way we always maintain looking for things. You know, we might even spot another cat along the way. We did pass some elephant and impala and zebra as we were heading down the cut line. But we thought for this particular instance, we've got a little bit left in the show. We'd love to show you the kitty cat before the end of the show. So I'm going to try and do my best to do that for you. Okay, while I continue and try and catch up with this cat, I think Tristan's still out on foot, and he's got something else for you, possibly, maybe not.
Well, no, we're just busy leaving our buffalo now. We've just walked past the dam because the buffalo are moving off, and there's a number of game drive vehicles that are now arriving. And so with cars all around, we thought it would be good to take our leave and carry on. Hopefully the buffalo stick around for the day and they're still here in the afternoon, and either Noel or James, who I think are out this afternoon, will be able to find them. So what we're going to do now is we're basically going to walk behind the buffalo. So where the buffalo have come from, we're going to walk and try and follow. And the reason why I want to do this is because there's tracks for this lioness with the cubs being brought from Mambili, those cubs, coming all the way back to this side. And so what I think has happened, or what Herbie and I think, is that potentially these lions may have attacked these buffalo and maybe made a kill, and that's why she's gone back to fetch the cubs and come back again. So what we're going to do is just try and find the lioness tracks around Gallagher Pan, because that's where they were going, pick them up from there and then try follow them. Of course there's a possibility that they made a kill inside Buffalo's Hook and they're that side, but you never know. So we're going to try and head that way and see if we can find those tracks. It's going to be interesting just to kind of work out where exactly they've gone. I have a funny feeling that these lions are still inside Buffalo's Hook. I don't think there's going to be any sign, because I think Rolf drove the northern boundary this morning and he didn't come up with any tracks for them. So I have a funny feeling that they might still be that side, but maybe we can catch the lioness and the two cubs before they cross. I initially thought maybe they were still hunting, but if the cubs have been fetched, it's probably in all likelihood that they had food or something like that in order to look after. But I always enjoy walking up this drainage line. Let's get rid of that because I'm going to trip over it. So, James, you're wondering if we enjoyed our version of Thanksgiving dinner. Yes, indeed we did. Thanks to our American contingent, so in the form of Noel and various other crew members, so Tori and Ryan, we managed to get a situation where we had a wonderful Thanksgiving dinner. It was absolutely delicious, and Kirsty made an incredible apple crumble for us at the end, and Viam is nodding his head and saying that it was very good, and it ended up in the sort of everyone in the kitchen having apple crumble at 9 o'clock at night, all having a sort of chat, and we had a good laugh. James was in his normal best and was playing all kinds of random songs that him and Viam had recorded at some point in a few years ago, so it was highly entertaining and really enjoyed it. Now Viam has just pointed out to me while we're standing here is that what we have here is a bit of fur. Now where this has come from, I'm not quite sure. Maybe there was a leopard that had a kill at some point in a jackalberry above us. There's a massive jackalberry here, and this is a perfect place for a leopard to sit. The thing is that in my entire time of being at Djuma, I have yet to see a leopard in this jackalberry or hear of a leopard in jackalberry, so I'm not quite sure where it comes from. It also could be from dung. You can see it's quite clumped together in places. In fact, it is from dung. There we go. You can see there's the harder kind of section of it. So it's from a leopard's dung, and this would have been, maybe by the coloration, it almost looks like a duiker effectively, that it could have been eaten. Maybe even I think duiker is probably what I would go with. But it's all, you can see how the dung breaks down. So from that hyena dung that we saw this morning, which was quite sort of cylindrical, that's how leopard dung would normally look, but you can see eventually it will be broken down into something very similar to this, which is very cool. Right, hopefully this is going to be a good sign of things to come. Like I say, we've had signs of everything this morning. It's been quite wonderful actually walking around. There's been an element of danger wherever we've gone, and hopefully we'll get lucky with these lions. I would love to find some lions on foot. It's been a very, very long time since I walked into lions on foot. It's always exhilarating experience when you do it. Now, the reason why I was saying just now that I love walking in this particular section, the reason why I like walking here is just because of the sort of terrain that you go through. It's obviously right next to the lodge, and so if you ignore the lodge side of things, the rest of it is actually really beautiful. You've got big jackalberries, a lot of spike thorns. It's kind of quite enclosed, and so it's a beautiful section just to walk around and look around, and it's obviously a very, very productive area. We had a lot of animals that go north-south here down to the dam and back to Buffelshoek boundary. I think let's go this way. So, and you're wondering how much apple crumble James got because he was rude to FC yesterday. Well, he almost didn't get any, but then Jerry and Kirsty felt sorry for him, and because he entertained us with his songs and various other things and made us all laugh, we decided that we would give him some and treat him to a little bit. After all, it is Thanksgiving, and you can't really be that mean to those that you work with, so at the end of the day, we did feed James a bit of apple crumble, and we thought as well, given that at the time he was standing next to Ryan, and Ryan is, as you may have heard James say, is part of the Dothraki clan. He's about 7 foot and is absolutely massive, and so James standing next to Ryan, it seems as though we needed to just fatten James up a little bit, hopefully get him to grow, because James was telling us yesterday that when he was, I think 16 or 17, he went to a doctor who told his parents that no, James is a late bloomer and at some point in time will start to grow and should reach at least 6 foot. Now we know of course that's not true, and James has not gotten to that, so maybe you never know, maybe if we feed him enough apple crumble, we'll have a situation where James will grow and become 6 foot tall. Now, to complete our sort of big 5 signs for today, we might as well do it because we've had such a cool morning of all the indicators of big 5, but this is the last one on the list, which is a rhino scraping. So it is a situation where a white rhino has come along. Sorry, excuse me, nose is a little blocked this morning, but this white rhino has come along, scraped its back legs, sprayed, and then walked off. Now, it's not a very fresh one at all. This is very old, but still very cool to see. Nice. So that completes our big 5 kind of tracks for the morning and signs and all those kind of things. Now, while I try and clear my throat and sort my nose out, let's go back across to Jamie in the Masamara.
I know that feeling very, very well. So we've arrived at Black Rock, everyone. I wonder where these lions may be, if they're here. I hope they're here. There's a very, very good chance that they are not here. They could easily, those cubs are big enough now to have been taken to a kill quite far away from the den. I did a loop around this area just so that we could be certain that they're not here. Okay, let's look very carefully. Come on, Black Rock lions. It's been so long since we last saw you. I mean, those cubs, how old would those cubs be now? There's no lion tracks on this road, which is not really a good sign. How old would those cubs be? They were 6 weeks when James was here, which was in September, October. So if they were born at the beginning of September, October, November, so they'd be about 3 months old now. Oh, are those them? Are those lions or are those bushes? Oh, there. Lion bushes. Are those lions? Did I find them? Remarkable. Craig, those are bushes. I think they're bushes. They're lion bushes. They really look like lions, in my defense. I send my sincerest apologies for raising your hopes. Look there. It looks like lions. Very far away. That looks a lot like lions. I really thought that was them. Okay. It's exactly what it's like. Kirsty says it's like her mongoose yesterday. Yesterday, Kirsty had a moment where she asked me to link to Noel with dwarf mongoose because she thought the termite mounds were dwarf mongoose. It was hilarious. In all fairness to Kirst, they did kind of look like dwarf mongoose, if I'm honest. So I sent you all over to Noel to a creature with teeth, which I suppose termites have teeth. Just wasn't quite what I was going for. It worked. It worked. Sometimes that happens. It's like the time that during a TV show I said that Brent had this amazing surprise because I heard on the Game Drive radio that he was going to Tingana, but he got to Tingana and there was no signal, but that's how we'd gone into an ad break with me saying that Brent had this amazing surprise. Anyway, luckily he found a baby hippo. So it all worked out in the end. Just wasn't quite the surprise I meant. Oh, we've had some moments. Remember the time that Wendy's alarm or horn went off as we were going into ad break right next to the Leopard, right next to Hosana. Kirsty's desperate voice in my ear counting me down into the ad. 10, 9, 8. Oh, that was painful. Although nothing will ever quite live up to the TV show that ended with Tingana defecating right next to the car and then walking away. I think that was our high point. That was the end of a sterling show where everything went wrong. And then Tingana rounded it off beautifully. By after 2 hours of lying flat in Simbambili, walking right next to us, and I'm going, where's he going to go? What's he going to do? Oh, he's going to poop right next to the car. The end. It was beautiful. Oh, you know what they say about working with kids and animals. We don't often work with kids, but we do work with animals. I don't know where these lions are, folks. They're not here. For once, they're not at Black Rock. There's not a hide nor hair of them. And I've been feeling very lonely out here because I have not seen one person to speak to about where the lions might be. I've looked. I've occasionally attempted to wave down a passing car, but they seem to think that I mean them no good and they go racing off past me. I do look a little shady though, I'll give them that. Oh, look, sausage tree flowers. There's a sausage tree flower to show you, since we can't find the lions. Scarlet, very, very seldom do we track for lions. By the way, that flower is delicious to antelope species. They love it. There was once a Campagnola called Flower because she loved flowers so much. So this is a sausage tree flower. Do we track for the lions? Very seldom. It's very difficult for us to track the lions out here. Next to impossible. We go off getting to know the animals, where they go, what they do, and then intel. And then spotting other vehicles. Those are our various methods of locating animals. And luck, of course. A great deal of luck involved as well. Plus, we're driving around for a good 12 hours a day. At some point, you've got to get lucky, you know? You've got to find something. She says, hopefully. Because the one lioness I did have, I left because she wasn't very comfortable. Beautiful tree. I love sausage trees. They are one of my top 5, I think, tree species. Leadwood, jackleberry, sausage tree. Not sure. Nancy, you say that the flower reminds you of a hibiscus. That's actually fair enough. It does look similar. It does look very, very similar to a hibiscus plant. And Craig, you can't see the fruit from where you are, can you? The roof is very much in the way. Let me show you why a sausage tree is called a sausage tree. If they grew in England, the crew of Monty Python would have had the best time. Can you see it if I do that? There you go. Sausage tree fruit. There's but one dangling from this tree. Only one fruit. It's quite sad, but of course it's flowering, which means it's being pollinated, which means that it's going to grow fruit soon. Lots of little sunbirds flapping around in the background, doing their job of spreading pollen. So that is why the sausage tree fruit is called the sausage tree fruit. Okay, where are the Black Rock lions, Kirsty? Why are they not here? Oh, there's an Angama. Hello. You are not as brightly coloured as the Angamas that we see. Oh, there we go. There's one on the top of the rock there. And that is brightly coloured. Look, it's saying hello to you all. Welcoming the round of applause that naturally the two of them deserve. Male on the right. Oh, there's 3. Male on the right, possible female on the left, and probable female at the back. Well, exactly. The Black Rock Pride have been kicked out, everyone. They have been chased away by a pack of fierce Angamas. Intimidating as they are. I mean, look at those faces. Talking about vultures, at least vultures are just not pretty. These guys just look like they're up to no good. So there we go, the culprits chased away our Black Rock Pride. By the way, the reason I suggested there was a degree of doubt in terms of sexing the Angamas is because, of course, yes, the breeding males are very brightly coloured, but they've got an interesting technique. The females are pretty plain coloured, typical, but there will also be satellite males that don't actually acquire those bright standout colours. And essentially what they do is they sneak around looking like ladies, and when the dominant male's not looking, they sneak up to the ladies, and well, you can guess the rest. So a clever little approach by a very clever lizard. Sunbathing. Oh, goodness. I don't know why I expected the Black Rock Pride to be at Black Rock. Kirsty, do you remember that long conversation we had about why Black Rock is called Black Rock when it's not black? 50 Shades of Granite. Can't remember it's just, the mottled brown rock doesn't have quite the same name. Oh, quite the same effect. That's just next door. Okay, so where would the lions be if they're not in the exact place they were left 6 weeks ago? I'm going to go and try and solve this mystery of where the lions of the Black Rock Pride have gone. Let's send you over to Rolf, who is searching not for lions, but for leopards.
Howdy, folks. We're still waiting just for our turn, just to go and have a look at the spotted cat that we've heard that the guys are watching. Now, apparently, it's one of the big males, and It's going to be quite a surprise. So I'm just going to leave you in suspense until we actually get up to see him. But with these reserves in the Sabi Sands and on a lot of the reserves around the country, around Africa, especially when you've got high-end lodges, it's very important to just respect the amount of vehicles and the amount of people inside a sighting or viewing an animal, so that it's just the quality for those people that are watching at the time, and also for the animals as well. That especially with a leopard, they are habituated towards the vehicle, but any kind of little mistake and pushing of that animal, it can turn that animal to not want to be seen. And I tell you, if a leopard doesn't want to be seen, you will not see him. And that runs true with all the game reserves that I've been working in. Sabi Sands is very special in that these animals have been worked on over the years and habituated towards game viewers and game vehicles, that it is now possible for us to actually view them, and with them being so relaxed as they are, it's almost impossible to see that kind of relaxedness of leopards anywhere else in the world. So that is the reason why we're just sitting tight a little bit, waiting for our turn. There's a couple of vehicles in at the moment, and they're going to give me a shout in the next few minutes, and they're going to let me know when it's my turn to move in. So it's also respecting other vehicles. They'll have a sort of a little bit of a time limit that they will sit in on the sighting itself, and then they will give us the opportunity at some stage. But I will definitely try my best to get it in before the end of the show. In the meantime, we are just next to a little bit of a pan here. We're listening to some birds. We are very close to the sighting of the leopard. But there's a big bird up in that tree there.
Yeah, I can't get it.
That is crawling. I'm going to just move a little bit back for Sebastian, just to try and see if we can get a nice view of it. It's a little bit behind the brush there. I wonder if any viewers can, in the meantime, by those small little markings there, I wonder if anybody would be able to tell us what that is.
Which one are you talking about?
There's a big bird up in the tree there, Sebastian. Is it too high?
Roof,
Okay, let me go back a little bit more. Okay, you're really working with us now, folks. We're almost behind the scenes. We're trying our best to find this. Okay. We want to get a view of this bird that's being attacked by a fork-tailed drongo. I don't know if Sebastian will be able to see it from there. But he is behind the branches there, Seb. I'm just going to try and get a nice clear view for you over on this side, and then the viewers can see it nicely. He is calling, and he is getting bombed by a fork-tailed drongo, the ever-present honey badger of the sky. Standing by. Sorry, I'm not copying you, but you can make your way. We're just watching a bird up in the tree. So, folks, has anybody got a good idea what bird of prey this is? I've got a very good idea, but I want to see if any of you can interact with us and give us your ideas. So, let's look at the diagnostics there. When I did see his head turned to the side, he had a yellow cere with a black tip of the bill. He's sort of a middle-sized predatory bird with reasonably large talons. They seem to be dark. Consulting Detective Wahlberg's eagle, absolutely on the button. The detective has found the answer, and he's being bombed by that fork-tailed drongo who's very upset with his presence. Okay, and while we continue watching this predatory bird get bombed by a drongo waiting for our turn with the leopards, I think Brent has got an ostrich nest to show you.
Well, here we go. We've made our way back to the eggs we found yesterday, or the nest we found yesterday, the ostrich nest. So it's a very small litter, but only 9 eggs that I can count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, yes. Now, they could have lost some to hyenas, they could have, lots of other things happen, or it could just be a very small litter. So it averages around 15, so 9 is on the small side. Now, Dad's not too far away. Now, during the day, it's not necessary for them to sit on the nest constantly because, of course, the sunshine is keeping the eggs warm. But where's he gone? We saw him. There we go. Is that Mom or Dad? That's Dad. So he's not too far away. But while there's no adult sitting on the nest, we're not going to spend too much time here. What is that in the front there? A little courser. Yes. Or lapwing, difficult to see through the hairs. Okay, so as I said, while the adults are not here, we don't want to spend too much time at the nest, so we're going to keep moving. Now, I haven't seen Mom yet, I've only seen Dad. Wildflower says they're not very well hidden. Well, actually they are, because they're in a depression in the ground here. So it is actually quite a good hiding spot. Back that way to Balloon. Sorry guys, someone just asked me if we've seen any cheetahs. Yeah, back towards Balloon Crossing. Yeah.
I'm still going back for breakfast.
Pole.
Yes.
Yeah, we're live at the moment, so we're actually broadcasting 100% live. No problem. Good luck.
Thank you. Lions? You too.
Lions, not yet, but I see some cars down there, so I'm slowly going that way.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers. Good luck, guys.
You too.
Bye. So there we go. There's the dad ostrich coming back towards his nest. Now, we're going to go see what else we can find now. I'm going to start meandering down towards where I saw those cars a little bit earlier. There might be something happening around there. Could even be another cheetah. Could be Miale. Have a look just down here.
So unfortunately, Brent has got a few gremlins to deal with at his ostrich nest, and so I'm sure hopefully he'll get rid of them. But we've walked all the way around now the back of this buffalo herd, and we haven't found too much until we've gotten to where we are right now, which is on Vuurtele access. And it seems as though these are the tracks for this lioness that we were talking about earlier. So you can see here is her footprint in the middle of the road. Now these are fresh tracks, these are from last night. You can see that they are very, very smooth. There's no pitting of rain on top of these, so during the night she walked here. You can also see very clearly that rounded shape that most of the cats have, and no claws on the front of it. Also, toes nice and evenly spaced, like what we were talking about earlier. I don't know if it's the same track that we saw a lot earlier. That seemed to be for a pride. This looks like just for a female with her cubs. Now the reason why I know it's with cubs is because there's actually cub tracks not too far from where I'm standing right now. There's a few little cub tracks, in fact right here. So if we come along this way, you can see little paw prints that have come along, and so here they are, much, much smaller, but most definitely still you can see the 3 little lobes at the back and still see the toes very, very clearly and nice and sort of open. And so definitely from last night, given that this is the main road And it's a place where, you know, a lot of vehicle traffic comes, and so if you see tracks here, generally they are quite fresh. And we also know that there's been a bit of rain around, and this is on top of the rain. So we'll try and see where these go. They look as though they're heading towards Gallagher. We'll just try to pick up exactly where they head. It's the best way to do it. Now, Cheetah, you're wondering how long do tracks last? Well, Cheetah, that's always very dependent on weather conditions. So lots of wind causes tracks to be smudged and sort of smoothed out. Rain is also a big factor, so you get a lot of rain that obviously washes tracks away, and then also an area where there's a lot of traffic. So if you've got a footpath where there's hippos that are walking every night from a dam, you know, those tracks are going to be squashed every single night by the hippos if they go over certain animals' tracks. And so a number of different factors that are involved. But if you have right conditions, so let's say something like winter when we don't get too much rain around and it's on a certain section that's not used very often, I've seen tracks lasting for as long as almost 3 weeks that you can still see those tracks. They become very, very sort of crusty and very smoothed out, and they're not very clear, but you can still make them out even after 3 weeks, which is a long time. Now in summer, not quite the same. Now in summer you generally find sort of, if it rains, that clears everything and then the tracks come out again after that, so they won't last nearly as long. But these tracks are pretty good. So what we're going to do is we're just going to follow down this little drain. And we have here, she walked straight along this particular section. You can see here where she kind of utilized this pathway, and this is quite typical of cats, is that they'll often follow a natural sort of opening. And so when they find a pathway like this, or they find some sort of section where it's a little bit more open, then they're able to kind of move around and try and follow that. The reason why they use these more open clearing sections is because at the end of the day, they don't have to worry so much about things like grass, which is ticks and parasites that live on that maybe then get onto them, and as well as the fact that you can imagine walking and being hit in the face by pieces of grass all the time is not very comfortable at all, and so much easier to walk along a pathway when you're trying to kind of negotiate your way around here. Now, the thing is with this is that her tracks head straight down. You can actually see the FC building straight from here. That's where Kirsty and everybody is sitting at the moment, so that's where they are. So it's not too far. Yes, Kirsty, I can see you through the walls. I have x-ray vision, so Kirsty says she's waving at me. Can I see? I can most definitely see, Kirsty, don't worry. So you can see the proximity that these lions sometimes walk to camp, and so I'm thinking what she's probably done is she's probably gone along this pathway and then just veered off slightly, maybe drank at Gallagher Pan, and then from there back towards the Pride, which is probably still in the north. We didn't find any tracks that we're crossing from Gallagher Pan northwards, but it is very hard there, and so it's a situation where we might struggle to actually see any footprints in the sand itself. But let's go and try and see. I mean, you never know, maybe at the pan itself we'll pick up something. She might have also just left the cubs somewhere. She might have put it in one of these drainage lines and then gone back to the Pride, and the Pride is hunting. You never know. It's always difficult to know for sure unless you follow the tracks all the way, so we'll try and follow them as far as we can and see what we get. Maybe we'll get a situation where we'll find these lions just taking it very easy somewhere close by. It'd be nice if they did. It's obviously been a while since we've had lions on the property, and I was discussing this yesterday with some of the guys, and just saying that, you know, this last sort of month, I think I've only seen lions once in the form of the Styx Pride, so it's been a bit of a thin time with lions, and it would be nice if the Angama Pride is around to try and find them and catch up with them. What I have noticed today, which is interesting, is that there hasn't been too many insects. I did see a butterfly, which is good. It's a good sign that butterflies are coming out, so it was a little orange tip, but other than that, it's been very quiet insect-wise. I think the overcast, coolish weather is not great for them. Although, to be honest, we haven't really been looking, because we've been moving so fast and we've been trying to catch up with that leopard in the beginning and then the buffalo. Haven't really had time to kind of work through things, and there's certain plants out here that are generally actually really good for looking for insects, and one of them is this little plant here. It's just starting to kind of come out now, and I haven't seen too many of them just yet, but these Waltherias are starting to grow, and last year they became a hive of activity for a multitude of different insects. We found a lot of acrea caterpillars on here. There was assassin bugs, there was spiders, particularly the sack spiders, that leaf folding sack spider that we get here. So there was a lot of different things that use this. At the moment they're still quite barren. There's not very much on them, as you can see, a bit of sand, and that's about it. And so we'll see once they flower, probably a lot more coming out and then starting to feed on their leaves. Something has already had a go at one leaf here. You can see a little bit of feeding that's taken place there, but you'll find when it's in full force, a number of things that will be on these particular plants themselves. Right, let's carry on, VM. Let's see what we can find. Now, while I try and track these tracks, I see there's a game drive vehicle there, so I'm going to have a chat to them quickly just to find out what they've seen and where they've kind of come from. And so while we chat to them and see where the tracks go, let's go back across to Ralph, who I think is still patiently waiting, and hopefully he'll get a glimpse of that leopard soon.
Howdy folks, we're still in the lineup to be going to see that surprise leopard that I have for you. We're just watching a little bachelor herd of Impala that are moving through, obviously totally unaware of what is just around the corner. So we're still waiting in anticipation of going into that sighting. I really hope that the guys give me a chance to go in before the end of the show. No guarantees, but I am going to try my best to squeeze my way in there. I am next in line. I did try my best and will continue to do so. But everybody wants to see it just as much as I do. What's that running on the road? Something just crossed the road. It looked like a monitor lizard of sorts. It was very low to the ground, but it ran over the road and disappeared into the brush. Just behind that where that Impala is now just walking. It was a little bit further up on the road, but unfortunately it has already disappeared into the thicket. And we listen to the woodland kingfisher calling again. It's two of the most common birds calling at the moment, the crested francolin and the woodland kingfisher. Okay, I'm just getting news that there's somebody moving out of the leopard sighting. So I'm just going to check if that was me. Stations, I just wanted to check. I didn't hear in between. I was standby 2. I just wanted to see if that was me now on standby 1 as of yet. It's Ralph from Wild Earth. Perfect, thank you very much. I did miss that, so thanks for updating me. Okay folks, I've been given the go-ahead, so I'm going to make my way down there, but in the meantime we're just going to cut back to Jamie, and then hopefully I'll have something fantastic to show you after that.
So, I haven't managed to find you lions, although at least Ralph is managing to get to a leopard, but I have found you something that is 10 times more terrifying than any lion pride when you're walking about in the dark, and that is siafu, safari ants, and that chap there, who's rearing his head up into the sky, that is the reason that they are so terrifying. So siafu, or safari ants, we have a fair amount of experience with them. And those are the soldiers. Look at their jaws. Now, they at one point raided our camp and actually are on their way back through again. They don't necessarily have one set nest site. They're raiders, and they move out wherever there's food availability. It's great if you want your tent really, really, really clean, because they move in and they basically clean up everything, dead bugs, anything that happens to be there. But if you are the poor unfortunate soul that happens to encounter them at night in the dark, and you don't realize and you step in the middle of that pathway, those soldiers will bite. And so much so that I actually still have a scar, I tell you, from an ant. They attach themselves, they dig those jaws into your skin, and they just don't let go. They are truly savage creatures. They don't let go, in fact, so much so that people in the past have used larger species as stitches. We often speak about that with the soldier termites, the ones that come out in defense of the termite mounds. These guys, in the past, if you find yourself without any first aid, I don't know, capacity or whatever the situation happens to be, you can actually use them to stitch up a wound. You just make them bite you over the wound, and then they will stay. There they will stay. They do not let go. And it's It's very sore. I mean, it's really, it's not, you're not going to die from it. It's not dangerous in any way, but my goodness, it's unpleasant when you step on them in the middle of the night on your way to the bathroom. And there was a time when there were messages bouncing back and forth through our work WhatsApp groups. This tent's been moving out.
Folks, we did try and promise you what we've just been able to deliver. So there he is. This is Hosana, and he's taking a nice little nap. Apparently he's got a kill up in this tree. I'm not sure what. I think it's an Impala, but we haven't seen it yet. But he is just flat out in this marula tree. So luckily we were able to get him before the end of the show. I'm very happy to have been able to do that for you. And look at that, look how he's flat out. It's a nice cool day for him to be moving around, but I think with him having made a kill there's more reason for him to have a snooze. And why wouldn't you, in a lovely branch like that? It's absolutely comfortable. He looks like he's making me want to have a snooze now. Look at that colours, eh? Rosettes. He's flat out. Sure. Wow. What more could you ask for at the end of the show, huh? So all you Hosana fans out there, I hope this has given you a little bit. Nancy, comment from Nancy, loving to watch a leopard sleeping in a tree. Well, I'm glad I could bring that one for you, Nancy. I do too. It's one of those primal poses of leopard, just taking up the lying pose. It's always those trees that we look out for which have got perfect little positions for leopard to be lying in, such as this. So when I drive around I do keep an eye up in the trees as well, just to see if the leopards are lying up like that, especially when it's very hot. And obviously they would be dragging their prey up into the tree to get it out of the reach of hyena and lions and animals like that aren't as adept at climbing trees as leopards are. Obviously hyena can't climb trees. They will circle around the bottom and hope that maybe some of the meat will drop down. Lions can climb trees. It's a fallacy that they can't. They're just not very good at it. Generally going up they're fine. It's coming down that normally is a problem. They generally just fall. Not as well adept at it as leopards are. But it's incredible how the leopards can drag massive weights up a tree. I did see, I think it was recently in the Mara, where you guys would have seen one of the leopards had taken a whole young giraffe up the tree. It's absolutely amazing. Stephanie, question from Stephanie. How far is Hosana up in the tree? Is he safe from lions? He is definitely high enough up in that tree to be safe from lions, unless they are quite good climbers. But he's probably at about 4.5 to 5 meters off the ground. So he's well clear of even a giraffe's head. A giraffe's head would probably be just underneath that thick branch that he's lying on, that trunk, and that would be a big male giraffe. So yeah, we're looking at about 5 meters, maybe just over 5 meters. But as I say, this is a marula tree, so potentially a lion could be able to get up there. But Alright. Okay, while we sit here watching Hosana take a nap, let's just cut back to Tristan, who's got a scene of carnage and destruction.
I do indeed, but not of the type that you think. While we have been following cat tracks all morning, and that means that often we're finding little bits of meat all over the place, this is not what we see here. This is a different animal that has caused absolute destruction, and it's an animal that is often persecuted in the fringes of this reserve because of the amount of damage that it can do. So if you look here, you've got a massive hole that's been created, and you can see that something has dug in here in order to pull something out. Now on the fringes are these massive bulbs. Now you can see the bulb itself, which is still quite damp actually, has got big gouges out of it at the moment, and so this bulb, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's from the bush willows. It might be something else, it's difficult to say, but it looks like it. But you can see where massive incisors have basically scraped out and cut away, and there's two there, 1, 2 teeth, and then they come down and they've just ripped it up, and that one over there has been absolutely decimated by this particular animal. And what really gave it away, because Herbie was looking at me and he was asking me what I think, and what really gives it away is actually just off to the side of this particular hole, and I'm going to get a torch out for this because it's going to help to highlight what we're talking about. But if you have a look here, and does that work for you? There we go. So if you have a look here, you'll see that there's little scrape lines all over the place, and you might have gotten it from what I said about the incisors, but these little scrape lines will definitely give it away. This was all done by a porcupine. So porcupines often come into this area, and they are quite prevalent, and we see them a lot in this particular section. We just don't see them on drives very often because they're active really in the deep of the night. And this is a telltale porcupine digging, and for those of you who think that porcupines are sort of animals that are not able to dig very deep, you can see that if I had to actually stand inside here, the hole is really quite far. I mean, it goes up to almost halfway up my calf, so it's not a very small hole that it's made, and it's been able to dig a massive kind of big sort of divot to get these bulbs out. Now, interestingly enough, if we have a look behind me, this particular section was probably started by the porcupines, but has then been taken over by elephants. So you can see the big elephant print that is over here. So once the porcupine started the process, the elephants have then come and used their big feet to dig it even deeper and to be able to grab these roots, which it would have used either its tusk or its trunk to grab like this, and then to pull up and then to feed off of those roots. Elephants absolutely love roots, and they'll just shove them in and start eating. It's amazing actually to see how animals utilize one another. Right, it is starting to rain now, so we're going to start heading back so that we can keep all of our equipment nice and dry and ourselves. And while we do that, let's go back across to Ralph and the ever beautiful Hosana.
Are we looking? Folks, excuse me, we're just allowing some people through on the road. So we've just moved forward a little bit just to give them a gap that they can pass us. And Hosana has sort of just moved his head a little bit. He nearly fell off the branch a minute ago, and he had to reposition himself. So it's quite interesting. But he's still on the branch, so quite happy he's still there. Didn't get a rude awakening. There we go. Still in that sleeping pose. Absolutely relaxed. Couldn't be more relaxed than that. And we've actually started to get some rain coming down again. So it seems it's not the end of it. We really do need it, so we shouldn't complain. It's been very dry and hot, so it's nice to get a little bit of rain. Even though it's not always the best when you're out on game drive. It's not always comfortable, but I can see here where there's an Impala just on the right. I don't know if you can see its legs sticking out there, Seb. And underneath, so if you go from the bottom fork, there he flicks his head a bit. So this other thick branch that's off on the right, if you go right up, there's another fork. The Impala's stuck in there. I wonder if I move.
I don't think I know what you're saying.
I wonder if I move forward a little bit and you'll be able to see
I think the roof might be
the Impala as well.
The roof
Right,
is in the way.
Doesn't matter. We'll sit here. We're quite good there. Seb's just trying to locate the the kill. The roof is in the way, unfortunately, with the rain coming down. It's important for us to protect all the gear. So sorry about that, but at least we've got Hosana. But it is confirmed there is an Impala in the tree with him. He must have dragged that up. So he's on the opposite side of the tree to the Impala, but he's put that Impala nicely up. It's not going anywhere, and he's just off of it. He can obviously go and feed whenever he feels like. He's probably had his full for now. He's got a nice fat belly, and that's obviously half the reason why he's taking a lovely nap. So, how are we going to live up to this afternoon? We'll have to find some more leopard. Safari Bean, he looks so comfy. I would definitely agree with that. The only thing he seems to do is shift his tail from side to side. He's just changing his body position every now and then, but he's totally comfortable. I mean, it's like a perfect hammock. Leopard are the epitome of relaxed in these kind of positions. It's not a worry in the world. He's probably had a drink this morning. He's made a kill. He's totally content. And it's an adult Impala as well. It's not a youngster, so he's set himself up nicely for the next day or so, at least. So he won't need to do too much for the next little while, and he can literally kick back and relax. That lovely coloration there. Hosana is in, and Hosana is absolutely beautiful. This is only the second time I've seen him. Folks, that's it from me. I'd like to say thanks to everybody, and hopefully we'll see you again this afternoon. But for now, we're going to cut over back to the Mara, who's going to continue with the show.
So I've been told now, as the Djuma team retires for the rest of the day to do Djuma things, I've been told to go back to... Oh, it's Pride of Antelope. I've been told to go back to Black Rock. So I met a guy who said he saw them there yesterday and that they never leave Black Rock. So he said, I've just missed them. I've missed them somewhere, and he told me I must go back and look again. So what we are going to do is we are going to go back and we are going to look again. He asked me if I'd been to the sausage tree. I said yes. We had a long chat. So we're going back to Black Rock, and I'm on a road that should lead me there but doesn't. It's very irritating. I want to be on that side of the ridge. Otherwise I'm going to make life very difficult, because Brent doesn't have a signal, and I might not if I continue down this route. So he told me to go back to the main road. Well, he said between the main road and Black Rock. All 9 cubs, though, are present and accounted for. You'll be happy to know that. So all 9 cubs are still happy and healthy. We just have to find them. Got half an hour left and I'm on the wrong road. Why is there not a road that goes over this ridge? Thank you, Josh. Josh apparently is wishing us good luck in our search for the Black Rock Pride. Thank you very much, Josh. I'm distracted. I am looking at zebra tracks. False alarm. So we found lots of prides of rocks, lots of prides of bushes. Let's go and find an actual pride of lions, shall we? But thanks, Josh. I appreciate the good luck wishes. He said they hide in the bushes around the sausage tree. Okay, we're going to race through this dip. I think we're going to vanish off your screen shortly. Let's send you over to Brent, who's found some signal.
Well, not only have we found some signal, we've found some more cheetah. Isn't that exciting? Manu was particularly looking forward to seeing Miale and the sun. Well, there's Sun having a little yawn. And they look like they ate something yesterday, so they're not by any means starving. But they might hunt later, so we've got great prospects for the afternoon with Nashpai and Miale and Sun. And I think for now, they're going to sit it out in the shade unless something stumbles upon them. Scarlett's wondering how far can a cheetah run before it gets tired. Well, if it's running at full speed, it can probably keep it up for about 100 to 150 meters, but they can run at considerable speed for about 400, 500 meters. They normally only do that when they're trying to escape from another predator. But they can do the sort of walk jog for hour upon hour without getting tired. Also, of course, depends on how hot it is and lots of different things like that. Hello, pretty boy. Enjoying the shade? What did you eat for dinner last night? So we were looking for them last night. We were in this area, but I think maybe they were hiding in a thicket with a little morsel to eat, and we weren't so lucky. But now we know where they are this morning. So again, very good prospects for this evening. Not much game around in terms of what the size Miale would like to hunt. Just some adult zebras up on the hill opposite us. Not too many Tommies around here. So she might have to move a little bit this afternoon to find some dindins. So just up there, Manu's going to show you now some zebra walking past, but no sign of any smaller antelope. Becca is wondering, do all cats kill by suffocation? They try to, Becca. Sometimes they don't. A leopard and lion on very small creatures, such as baby duiker or baby anything really, will actually just crunch, use their canines and go straight through into the skull. But on bigger animals, they try suffocate. Lion, another one, and leopard in certain circumstances when they get hold of very big animals. In a leopard's case, probably a kudu. In a lion's case, something like a buffalo. They actually will use a nose hold. So they'll basically sink their canines through the nose and bottom jaw, locking it. And what that does is cause blood to flow back into the animal's lungs, and they suffocate. Well, I suppose it is a form of suffocation, but suffocated by basically drowning an animal in its own blood. Now, on most big cats, there's a gap between the molars. The premolars and the molars, and the inside and the canines, and that gap is actually specially designed. So once they grab around something's throat, it's the canines lock, and that gap closes the esophagus and causes them to suffocate. Have you got a stick, big boy? Is that your stick? Well done. No, boring stick. Cheetah is wondering, Cheetah. Heather is wondering, did I know that cheetah are related to the American mountain lion? Yes, I did, Heather. The American mountain lion and the Jagamundi, which are both American cats. Now, at some point, there's been two major sort of genetic bottlenecks in cheetah. Once when they left the Americas, and the other when they entered into into Asia and Africa. And both of those die-offs coincide with the big ice ages. One was about 30,000 years ago and another about 10,000 years ago. But yes, there used to be lots of cheetah. There used to be cheetah in the Americas, but there are none left. They are wonderful to just sit with and watch. There's Miale. She's got a very distinctive head, quite a long face. You can see her already flicking her ears for the biting flies. The little boy is watching you, Manu. He's got his eyes on Manu. And he's just watching Manu move the camera with great interest. See, now the camera's on him and Manu's not moving. He's not as interested as he was. Sure. The battle of the biting flies continues as the heat steps up, and especially after the rain last night. Jacqueline's wondering, do animals get relief at night from the flies? Yes, they do, Jacqueline. And the flies will go to bed, so they don't have nearly as much hassle as they do during the day. Now, it is heating up quite quickly here in the Mara. I don't think these guys are going to move. Now, we've had lots of luck finding cats so far this morning, but let's go see how Jamie's great search for the Black Rock Pride is going.
Unluckily, is that a word? Our search is not going very well. Unfortunately, it would probably have been a better word to have used. I've gone back all the way. Oh, remember we were talking about the biggest antelope? I think I see an eland. It is quite substantially far away, but it'll do. And it's right into the sun. But there you go. Talking about the largest antelope species that we get in the Mara, there is one very conveniently all the way over there. Now, an eland is massive. That Talek eland, when I walk up and stand next to it, she basically looks me right in the eye, and her horns are much higher than my head. Quite intimidating, actually. I agree, Kirst. I think that's the best sighting we've had all day. An eland a kilometre away. Okay, let's go find this Black Rock Pride. Come on, everyone. We've only got 20 minutes left. We've got to do it. I can't turn the key. Yes, I can. I was so convinced the other day during the school drive when we were with the Musketeers that when we got stuck like that, they were going to go and hunt. And we couldn't turn the key. Well, I couldn't turn the key. It was horrible. Okay, so I went all the way back to the main road. Not entirely intentionally, but there you have it. Got all the way back to the main road, and now we're starting the search again. Approaching Black Rock from a different angle. Oh, so many cars. They must have found the lions. Quick, quick. I hope. Or are they all just doing what I'm doing? Circling Black Rock with intent. I'll be so embarrassed if we drove past those lions, and I think we did. Maybe not. Everybody seems to be going in different directions. But we all have the same idea. We're all... But at least then we've got a better chance of finding them. If we're all united in the search. They could so easily be in the lugger. There's something moving on top of that rock over there. Can you see it still? Is that a lion over there? That is a lion. No, come on. That's a lion, right? It's not a lion bush. It looks a lot like a lion. I drove there. That lion was not there. I promise you that lion was not there. Okay. As luck would have it, we've found a lion. Oh no, they're all out on top of the rock. This is ridiculous. I promise you those lions were not there. I'm so embarrassed. Oh, whoa. Woe is me. I'm embarrassed. I think the Angamas were just distraction. Oh, look, there's a little black rock cub. Hello, how are you? Gone is how you are. Oh, look at them. They're all there. No, Craig, these lions were not here. Were they? No, come on. I'm not that crazy. Oh, hello. Black Rock Pride. Yeah, how happy are we? We've managed to catch up with them. Not much seems to be happening. The Black Rocks seem to be relatively sleepy. Very sleepy, in fact. But entirely worth it. Look at those two little heads poking up over the side. Too gorgeous for words. Chewing on Mum's ear, are you? Sweet. I'm so thrilled that we could show you the Black Rock Pride. I promise you I drove past this rock, and I promise you these lions were not spread-eagled across it in the way that they are. I mean, that lioness is posing like she's been there all morning. She's a fibber. She wasn't there. Where did you emerge from? You crazy cats. I'm very grateful to those of you that believe that I wouldn't have missed them. I would have had to have worked very hard, considering I drove on this road, to have missed the lion on top of the rock. Or indeed next to the rock. I have some special moments, I completely agree, but I really would have had to work very hard to miss them. They must have come out from under the bushes. Let me get you a little bit closer so we can maybe hear the squawking coming from the cubs. Oh, Andy, you say that they are growing up so fast. They are, aren't they? Don't you remember when actually it was Brent who first found them, and when we spent so much time, James spent so much time here. Kathy, you say that many of you Americans are thankful that we found them. So there you go. This is my Thanksgiving present to all of you. I know lots and lots of people have been dying to come back to Black Rock Pride. They're just so far away. They really, really are. And unfortunately, Silas at the moment is being revamped. So logistically, they're so tricky, but it's worth it. It's worth it for 9 little bundles of joy. Here comes a little cub off to the left here. So happy Thanksgiving to those of you celebrating Thanksgiving. I'm very jealous of your turkey meals. Can't believe how much they've grown. What a perfect playground for lions. It makes you want to be a lion cub just to grow up in this setting. Ow! Are you talking? See if we can hear them. I'll go quiet. Every time I try and do that, the animal stops talking. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a wildebeest or a lion. Every time I try and go silent, they go quiet too. Oh, can you hear that at all, Kirst? Oh. Irritated, Mum. Irritated, Mum, huh? Oh, in that, all of that asking about whether or not we could hear it, I actually completely missed the question. I heard that it was how frequently do lions have cubs, but I didn't actually hear who the question came from. So to start, Emily. There we go. Thank you, Emily. So you want to know how often or frequently lions will have cubs. So you're looking at a birthing interval of around about 3 years or just over 3 years. So the cubs will be at the point where they're independent, and mom will come back into estrus at around about 2 years old. I say independent, they're capable of hunting for themselves. They're still with the pride, whether they're obviously, if they're females, but also if they're males. Oh, look at these little bundles of joy. Oh, it's too gorgeous. What have you seen? Are you going to go catch an Angama? So the female will come back into estrus for the first time when they're about 2 years old. She won't necessarily fall pregnant straight away. So gorgeous. That's perfect, Alice. I'll take my cue from you. You tell me when you think it's suitable. At the moment, I think they're pretty relaxed. Look at this chap over there on the left, all by its lonesome. Little antisocial cub. Or are you just caught in a crevice? Oh, we were talking about how often lions have cubs. So what that means essentially is that in her lifetime, a female will probably have about 4 sets of cubs. James Richard, no, I didn't actually. I had completely forgotten about that. And James Richard says that last Thanksgiving I showed you all the new Styx cubs. I had clean forgotten about, well, not forgotten, I just hadn't quite realized the passage of time. So thanks for the reminder, actually. I vividly remember that day. Didn't we have to wait quite a while to go into that sighting? I think we did. We'd been dying to see them as well, especially after the tragedy of the previous litters and the mange. We were so desperate to see them. Something they're over a year old. I'm trying to remember. Oh, time flies. It goes so fast. I can't believe that was a year ago. That is absolutely frightening. Goodness. 1 whole year. 6 months of which I suppose have been in the Mara. And look at all the amazing new experiences that we've had. Oh, this lioness just wants to have a proper snooze. She's found herself the perfect spot. The cubs haven't come up to bother her. It's a proper rest for Mum. With all 9 cubs are a handful. So for those of you that are actually, perhaps this is your first time seeing the Black Rock Pride, it consists of 3 lionesses and 9 cubs, all pretty much exactly the same age. There's very, very little age difference between the cubs. I think it's about 2-week age difference, if that. So they're very, very close in age, and what a perfect combination to have this as a beautiful den site, and it really is a beautiful area, and then at the same time to have 9 playmates, well, 8 playmates, if you're the 9th cub. Look at this one with a stick at the back. Are you too precious? I'm sorry, it's very, very difficult not to coo. I try and keep the cooing to a minimum, but it's tricky. Chew toy. They're all teething now. They're going to want to chew absolutely everything that they can find, including Mum, which would explain the lioness's slightly short temper earlier, growling and hissing at the cubs. Desperate for a moment of peace. I really think we can spend a bit more time with them this afternoon. Try and get the ratio of males to females in this group, because that would also be very useful to know. Jacqueline, yes, animals do get angry and they do lose their tempers. I've seen it quite a few times especially with young cubs, where the mothers are trying to get them to behave. Oh, look, there's a little puddle for the cub to drink from. Could this be a more perfect spot? But I've seen it a few times where cubs have messed up a hunt, or they have harassed the mother to the point that she turns around, and she doesn't hurt the cub, but she does give them a fair smack with her paw. I've seen leopards do it as well. Discipline. They will all do it. If the cubs are chewing on the mothers, if they're hurting the mothers, they will actually get a hiding. So yes, animals do, I don't know if you could term it lose their tempers, but they certainly do get angry and they do get irritated. And you can see it even when a leopard misses a hunt, a potential stalk or whatever it happens to be, and they get spotted. I believe you can see the irritation quite clearly in their body language. That flicking tail, and yes, of course, the tail goes up as a surrender to stop the antelope from alarm calling, but also they get irritated. They're not happy with themselves. We saw it with that elephant. Remember the time that elephant that female came charging out and pinned the young elephant to the floor, or to the ground? I don't know. I think a few of you will remember that particular instance. Totally unexpected and very clearly a loss of temper. Aww. Thank you, Blackrock Pride, for making an appearance. Yes, James Richard, you're absolutely right. We had to race back from Cheetah Plains because of the rain, because of the storm. You are absolutely right. And they weren't on Cheetah Plains. They were further down the boundary. They were on the boundary between Annette's and Mala Mala. But we went and we stopped and we looked at them. I remember now. And then, yes, we had to race. We had to turn around and race back. Sorry, Craig, look at the Angamas straight ahead of us on the rock. Right down there. We were just chasing each other around. I know we've got the most gorgeous scenes, but this is too hilarious. And we're chasing each other. But I think they've calmed down. That's a brilliant description, the Spider-Man Angamas, because of the colours, the colour combination, the blue and the red. That's genius. I wish I'd thought of that myself. Brilliant. Spider-Man Angamas. Oh, Cub is getting into so much trouble. That poor mum. She just wants to be left alone so she can have her morning bath or her morning wash. And the cubs just won't leave her alone. And then she goes from snarling at them to cleaning them. in one smooth movement, perhaps familiar to mothers all over the world. Such cute sounds. Very good question, Judy H. I've actually been meaning to look at that, and then I keep getting distracted by the cubs. And Judy H has spotted something white in the tree by the cubs and wants to know what it is. I haven't the faintest clue. Let me try and see if I can work that out. It's not a feather. This looks like a bone. Goosey says it looks fluffy. I think it looks solid to me. What is it? It really looks like... I don't know how it would have got up there, but it looks like a bone. I don't know, Judy H. I'll have a closer look once the other vehicle's moved out, and I can get closer, I promise. And I'll let you know what it was. I think the Black Rock Pride, I think Kirsty's right, I think the Black Rock Pride have been decorating their Christmas trees. It is that time of year after all. Can't work that one out. A scene of utter contentment. And one cub that is just so thrilled that it's got a stick to chew on. The one under that tree at the back is just going to town on that stick. It's the best thing ever. Too stunning for words. I'm so happy that at the end of the sunrise safari we actually managed to find them. I was desperately worried that after all of that and having come all this way that we wouldn't get to see them, and that would have been so terribly disappointing. I'm very chuffed. And I'm very chuffed, I have to say, to see that all 9 cubs are alive, well, healthy, and thoroughly playful. It's too gorgeous for words. So it's that time of the day where we do our farewells and our thank yous. Thank you, of course, to Craig for keeping me company on this long stretch across the other side of the river and his wonderful camera work. Thank you to Alice and to Kirsty in South Africa. And, of course, thank you to all of you. It's been an absolute joy and a pleasure. This afternoon we will, I think, start our afternoon with the Black Rock Pride. So there's plenty to look forward to. Thanks for joining us, and we shall see you in a few short hours.